Recorded. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our first session. And this session is going to be very interactive, and it is going to start with the beginner mindset until we will be able to achieve what we'll be able to achieve in the 4 weeks according to the curriculum that we have already. So Irene, I don't know if you are set now with your laptop, because sometimes we may request that you share your screen to see what you can be able to, we can be able to guide you from your laptop. So are you set? Kindly confirm that. You can just unmute and confirm.
Not yet.
Okay. So just try to figure out, and let me start by sharing my screen. Maybe what is the challenge? Basically, were you able to install Anaconda Python?
Yes, it's the laptop itself. It's ina load kidogo kufunguka, but itafunguka tu.
Okay. Now you can see my screen and you can hear me.
We can hear you.
And you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, that's what I was I was asking. Okay, so we said Python is a general purpose programming language, and it is used for many usages, such as data science, software development, web development, game application. And some of the very interesting features for Python include readability and simple syntax. It just uses basic English. Yes, and it is extensive, has extensive standard libraries, which we are going to look at some of the libraries. And dynamic typing and dynamic binding. This simply means that you don't have to define variables. We are going to look at that. You don't have to initiate variables. We call it variable initialization. We are going to look at that. But so Python, you don't have to initialize variables. For example, to say, int name is equal to maybe this. So you don't have to say int, you don't have to say string. So you just directly assign variables. And then cross-platform compatibility, you can run Python on Microsoft. You can run on Microsoft. Sorry, that's Windows. You can run on Mac. You can also run on other operating systems that we have in the market. So it is a high-level language. So, and also it supports multiple programming paradigms. So it supports object-oriented paradigms, things like classes, inheritance, things like polymorphism, and stuff like that. You will meet those concepts when you are doing basically in the development environment, for example, in web development and software development. So scalability and performance, it's good, and it's open source, as all of us were able to access it. So some important things about Python is that Python was designed for readability and has some similar to English language, as I just said in the beginning, and some influence from mathematics environment. And Python also uses a new line to complete a command. So in Python, you don't have to define the end of a statement by putting maybe semicolon like in other programming languages. So the end of the start of a new line shows the end of a command or complete command in Python. So that is it basically. And then Python relies on indentation or using white spaces or to define scope, and also sometimes to define functions, as we are going to see in our curriculum. So up to there, we have our first Python program. Our first Python program is to print hello world, in Python. So I just want anyone who is ready with their machine to print hello world. I'll stop sharing and I want someone to print hello world on their machine. George and the team, let me just find out. Let me stop sharing so that I can see someone printing hello world. So this is the hello world. If you check in the chat section, I have printed there, print hello world. So you can just paste that one in your machine. So anyone who is ready to share the screen, George, can you share your screen?
Just a moment.
Yes. Welcome, Godfrey. We have just started and hope your machine is also ready. Yes. Nice. So George has printed hello world. So this is how we print a string in Python. A string is closed in double quotes. In double quotes, quotation marks. We put strings in either single quote or double quote. So anything under quote is a string. So for example, hello world is a string. So we print it to the user or to our screen by writing a print function in Python. So thank you, George, and that is it. So you can stop sharing. I ask Godfrey to also do the same. Godfrey, if you have your laptop, you can share your screen. You can search for Jupyter Notebook on your search bar, and then it will load. And now you will create a folder. You will create a folder. Godfrey, if you have your laptop, you can share your screen so that we can guide you also, or if you're already there.
I'm starting my notebook, please.
Okay, thank you. Irene, how far? Irene, how far? Irene, how far? So I will reshare my screen again, but Irene, please, when you are available, let us know how far you are. So let me share my screen again. And so we have just printed hello world. George helped us to print hello world to the user. And the next one is to take an input from the user. For example, we want to take the name of the user and print it back to the screen. So we use a variable, we assign a variable. So a variable simply stores a value into the allocated value into the system. So in this case, we have name, which is equal to, then we use the input function in Python to capture the user's input. For example, enter your name, and then now it will print hello, and then we call the variable. We call the variable, which is name. So which will be the name of the user, the name of the user. So I can just copy this and also paste it in the chat section. So that's how we create our first, that's our second program in Python, just asking the user's input. So you can also request the user to input age, the user to input gender, the user to input anything that we want. So for example, here I can add another variable known as age, and I say equal to input, and then I open, and then I put in the quotes, enter your age. So this will also be able to take the age of the user. And I close. I can give some space here so that when the user inputs the age, we can have some space like that. And now we print the name, and then we print your age is. We print your age is. Your age is, and then we call the age variable. So age is now called is a variable. So we can run this again. So let me run it on my screen, and we will confirm if everyone is comfortable with this. So when we run this, the first thing is that we are asked to enter the name. So in this case, maybe I say I will just use any random name. So maybe John Doe. So John Doe, enter your name, John Doe. And then it asks me, enter your age. My age is 56. My age is 56. And then I hit enter. And now it prints to the user, the hello, John Doe. Your age is 56. So that's how we print our second program in Python. And let me just copy this code and paste it in the chat section. So I'll stop sharing to check if all of us we are on the same page. So that is the second code. And this code we have requested Python to capture the username and the user age, and then print to the screen back the username and the user age. So Godfrey, if your notebook is ready, you can share
Yes,
your
let me
screen.
share. Let me share.
Okay.
I'm not sure why it's not running.
Your code is not running.
Yeah.
Okay. I cannot see your screen well. Yeah, nice. So name is equal to input, and then you gave that, and then the age is equal to that. Now when try to run, let's see. Try to run it. There is an error where
The cursor is not inside the cell.
no, the cursor has to come out. Once you run the program in Python, cursor will initiate a new cell. So can you just try to type, maybe there is some, just try to type in a new cell. Just run it. Okay, type there name is equal to input open the brackets. Okay, enter your name. Okay, run that one. Okay.
I try running this.
Yeah. Okay. So it could be your problem. Try to type there Z. Okay, type there Z is equal to 4 plus 5. Hit enter. Print age into brackets age, put sorry, not age, print Z. Age Z into brackets. Yeah, put into brackets Z. Hit enter. Hit not enter, shift enter, sorry. Shift enter. Now your print function, it seems your print function is not working. So call Z without using print. Call Z without using print. So just yes. Hit shift enter.
Not yet.
What?
Probably I can, let me try restarting my
Okay,
computer.
restart your kernel. So go to kernel, go to the kernel and restart. Restart and yes, just restart. Restart there. Let's see. Everything is not running. Let's see what is. So start. Yeah, running from the top. Start running from the top. It should okay. Has it restarted really? Just click kernel again and restart and clear output. Go to restart and clear output. Then restart and clear output. Click that one.
Okay.
Now start running from the top and let's see.
That's okay.
Then the second one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so there we go. So you can now put there the name. Now it captures the name of the user, and then it asks you the age. You provide your age, and then it prints hello Godfrey, and then your age is 14. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So George has also Godfrey has been able to do that. So I don't know, George, how are you? How is your end? Is it smooth?
I'm okay. I'm
nice.
okay.
Irene?
Still having some challenges with my machine.
Okay, but you're following everything. You're following.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because at the end of this class we have an assignment, so it's good to follow so that you can be able to do your assignment well. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's proceed. I'll share my screen. In case there is any thing you cannot see, please just unmute and tell me so that I can be able to check anything. Okay. So we have comments in Python. So comments, we just usually use comments to be able to give explanation about our code. It only helps the programmers. It helps the developers to be able to know what the code does. For example, yes?
Brian is raising his hand.
Who is that? Let me stop sharing first. Who is raising the hand? I can't see.
I wanted to show them another way to do that.
Okay,
the code that we have.
The code using the F.
Yeah, but that is advanced. Maybe they run later.
Yeah, this is the yeah. That's why that's why we are starting. So we don't want to to make it advanced. Yeah, we are starting. So let's use print, and then later on we can be able to apply that. But it's not also advanced as such. So you can just share your screen, Brian, and you show us how we use the F, because it is not that advanced as such. So you can just share your screen. But if you're comfortable with the F, with the print function, without the F, we can be able to just run the code the way it is running, and it will be smooth. But it's also good to know other ways to do that. So, Brian? I can't see the screen. I don't know if colleagues, you can be able to see Brian's screen. Are you sharing the entire screen?
Yeah.
Or window? Then I'll have to...
I'm sharing the entire screen.
Can you confirm if you can see colleagues, or I am the one who has the problem, so that I can able to leave and come back?
I can see from my side.
You can see the screen pretty well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me...
Can you see this side now?
Yes.
You can.
So on my side, what I've done, I have initialized the variable age, which is equal to input, and then I'll get a prompt, please enter your age. Then after that, after I have entered my age, maybe I can run them once again. So maybe I say my age is that 5 years old. Then I click enter. You see, I'm getting my name is Brian and I'm that 5 years old. So what
Yes.
you do is that you can use the same print, and then you put this F here, and there's single quotes. You say my name is Brian and I am. So if you want to bring this variable here, you use curly braces, that is age. So when I put these curly braces there, the input that I have just inputted here will be pulled out and will be brought here in the output program, and hence we reach at the same answer but in different ways. Yeah, that's what I had. Thank you. Umeshika?
Can you copy the same in the message box? The codes.
Okay.
But you have typed the name.
Yeah, I typed the
Explicit.
name of the variable. I've typed the name of the variable, this one here, age, into curly braces. If I was used, I had used here, maybe years. Then I'll come here and say years. This variable will be inputted here using these curly braces. So basically this pulls a value and bring it here.
Okay.
So, Brian, can you do the same for the name?
Yeah.
Will it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brian, you
Maybe
can paste that code in the chat section, and so that they can be able to copy it right there. So, and then you can now stop sharing the screen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So we usually use the F when we want to join to call the variable within the statement. When we want to call the variable within the statement, especially when we have numeric variable. So we usually use it as a way of concatenating. Concatenating is just to join the string and the integers. So we're going to look at data types later. So Brian, have you pasted the code? You can paste it again. Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Yes, now thank you, Brian, for that. So you can also learn more about the F function, the F together with the print together. So let's proceed with the comments. Let's proceed with the comments in Python. Can you see my screen?
No.
Just confirm if you can see. Once you can see my screen. Let me stop sharing again and share back. Is it okay? Are you able to see my screen?
Right
Okay,
and
now.
clear.
Okay. So, comments in Python, we use hash to comment anything we want to comment in Python. So we have multi-line or multiple comments and single
Share the
line comments.
presentation. You're not sharing the presentation.
Let me share again. Which one am I sharing? Is there something that is already being shared? Let me just be patient and see if, yeah, once you see my screen, let me know. So let me be patient and see that. Okay, I think there we go. Yeah, okay. Are you okay now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so comments in Python, we use a hash to highlight a single comment. If we have multiple comments, we can as well use a multiple hash to do that, to give comments on our code. So you just put hash, and you can have stories here about what the code performs. For example, in our first case, our code was, let me just delete this. Our code was maybe age, let's call age, and then we are asking the user to input age. Enter your age. Your age. And maybe now we have something here. So comments are not interpreted. Comments are not interpreted in Python. So they will be left out when you run your code. Comments will be left out when you run your code. For example, here you see there is no comment that has been commented here. So I can just put my age, and when I run, I just see enter your age, which is 67, and it prints back my age. But this is your age is not printed. So we just usually use that to be able to give easier to our fellow developers on what was happening about the code. So for you to assign comments in Python, you use hash. There are other ways of doing that in other environments. So sometimes it depends with the IDE, the integrated development environment you're using. For Notepad, we are using hash, but in other environment, for example, in the Visual Studio, you may get there is another way of doing that, assigning comments, which may not be slightly, it might be slightly different, but it may not be that different. So we may be able to use the forward arrow, the forward slash, and also depending on the other programming languages, you can be able to change how you comment. So you just want to know that for us, we are using hash in the Jupyter Notebook to be able to write comments on in our codes. And then what we have been doing above is assigning values to variables. So what is a variable? Variable is used to store a data value. And we assign a variable using the assignment operator, which is equal to operator. So for example, we can assign age to be 56 and the salary of the individual to be 1,000. This is 10,000. And once we have done that, now we can call the age, and the age again, the age and the salary. And let's try to call, let's run that first. So let me run one by one. Let me first of all comment out salary because we have learned about comment, and I want to run age only. So you can sometimes run the variables. You can call variables without using print. You can call variables without using print function. For example, here you can see I have just called age without saying print age, and I can get age. So I have assigned age a value of 56. So this is an integer. We can sometimes have constants. We may sometimes have floats. We are going to look into data types just below after this. So when I try to call age with small a, it will return an error. Sorry, there is an assigned age before at the top. Yeah, so that's why it is returning that. But there's assigned age. But let me call another age with capital G in between, so that is not assigned. You see, the age that is returning is the one that we had defined here. So that's why it is returning that age. But let me call something else we have not defined. So for example, I make a mistake. Instead of writing age with capital A, I write age with capital G. So while assigning variables, there are rules that we should follow to give a name to a variable. So in this case, you see there is an error that age is not defined. So we must be very accurate when we are doing assignment of variables, giving variables names, as we are going to see the rules of doing that. And now the salary is equal to this. So salary, we can be able now to also call salary here without using print. So when we call it, it returns 10,000. And when we use small s, it returns an error. So it is case sensitive. We usually say that this is the case sensitivity property of naming a variable. So while naming a variable and calling a variable, you must be very sure about the case sensitivity of your data. And then we have float. This is a float and is also a constant. So you can say in Python, we refer constants using capital letters only. For example, pi, we assign a variable known as pi to be equal to 3.14. And now, anytime we call pi, it will be able to return that 3.14. Anytime we call pi, it will be able to return 3.14. That's how we do that. Still variable assigning variables in Python. So we have assigned numeric variables and float. This is float and this is integer. These are all numeric. And this is string. This is string. So I just want one of us to assign a variable name. Assign your name to a variable. Who is ready to assign a variable called name, and then you give your name in the quotes showing that it is a string? I want one of us to do that. Let me stop sharing. Who will do that? Godfrey?
Okay, let me share my screen.
Okay.
So I'll assign a variable name to a string like that.
Yes, Godfrey.
Can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yes,
Yes, nice.
I have assigned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we assign a string variable to a string variable. We assign using double quotes and then we give it a name. So when you try to call it down there, just hit enter so that you remain in the same cell.
Okay.
You can maximize your notebook. Yeah. Okay. So call name.
Okay.
Yes. Hit shift enter. We use shift enter to run a cell like that. And what if you call capital N, name with capital N? If you had already assigned it, it will return something else that you had assigned. So call it. Yeah, it's an error. So you had not assigned it before. So
Yes.
name and name are different. So name with capital N and name with small n are different in Python.
Okay.
Is case sensitive. So that's what we mean by case sensitive. Okay, so we can proceed, right? Thank you, Godfrey. You can stop sharing your screen and then I can share mine as well. Okay. let me wait and as we present. So we just wanted to look at the rules of naming a variable in Python. Rules of naming a variable in Python. Rules of naming a variable in Python. So the rules are here. So sometimes you can assign. So we have another data type we call Boolean data type, which only takes two binary values, true, false, and 0, 1. Where 0 is for true, 1 is for true, and false is for 0, or 0 is for false. So we may want to assign a default value. Maybe, for example, is married, true. Is female, false. Like true, false, true, false. So what if, let me just run this code and now call these variables here, is married. So it will be able to tell us true, is married. So you can ask, is this person married? True. No, not true. And that. So that's how we assign Boolean variable. So we are going to look at the data type later. So we are going to look at the naming. These notes, you'll be able to get them in the learning management system. I had scheduled them to be available by let me check if it is available. I'll check that later, but you'll be able to access them, I think, at the end of the session. It's already scheduled. So variable naming rules. First, variable name must start with a letter. That is a small a to z, capital A to z, or an underscore. That's a variable name. Variable names can contain letters, digits 0 to 9, and underscore. So special characters are not allowed while defining variables. Special characters are things like @ things like question mark. Yes. Then variable names are case sensitive, which means name and name are different variables, where name with small n and name with capital N are different variables. Python keywords. So keywords in Python include, these are stored. The keywords are stored or already defined words in Python. Those are what we call keywords. So for example, if is a keyword, for is a keyword, while is a keyword, def is a keyword, and others are keywords. So they cannot be used to name variables. So those are the rules that we use, that you must have at your fingertips while naming variables. So we go to data types in Python. Is there any question about naming variables before you go to data types?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we allowed to leave a space when naming data types?
No, we are not allowed to leave a white space while naming a variable. A variable. Let me go there and show. Let me even type here. So for example, I have employee ID, emp ID, and I want to assign this one as a variable. Maybe I give it a value like this, and I try to print emp ID. So we are not allowed to leave spaces in between variables while assigning variables. So we have to use an underscore in that case. When you use underscore to assign, to differentiate two words, you can use underscore, or you can just join. You can just join like that, and it will still be okay. So we are not allowed to leave spaces, white spaces. Thank you, Brian, for raising that up. Yeah, so it's very important for us to note that. Any other question? If there is no question, we can proceed to data types, because time is also not on our side. So about data types, we have text type, which we call string, and it is usually referenced using str, which is just a short form of string. And then the numeric types, we have integers, we have floats, we have complex. We're going to look at some of the examples of this. They're just here, down here. So sequence type, these are list, tuple, range. Mapping type, we have dictionary. which we usually reference it as dict. Set types, we have set and frozen set. So these are some of the data types that we'll be meeting in Python, but you will not be using all of them at the same time. Sometimes you may just meet one type, two types, three types. So we are just orientating you prior. And then we have Boolean type, which we usually reference it as bool. And then binary types, we usually reference, there are of three types. We have bytes, we have byte array, and then we have the memory view. And then none type is none type. You can even assign a variable to be none by default. It's mostly used in in development environment. So some of the examples of these things are here. Integers, these are whole numbers. For example, 10, -5, 100. Float, these are floating point numbers. For example, 3.14, 2 point something, 2 point something. Yeah, those are floats. Strings, these are just a sequence of characters. So we have hello, we have Python, we have your name is also a string. Boolean, this represents true or false. List, tuple, dictionary, and set. So we'll have a look of discussion of list, tuple, dictionary, and set in the next section, because these ones we usually use them to just store a sequencing of data. So when we want to check a type, a data type of a particular variable, we call using a type function in Python. For example, we had age defined at the top. We had age somewhere. Age is there, salary is there. So maybe we want to know which data type is age. Sorry, let me go there. Why is it moving too fast? Okay, we are here. So types, I right click. Okay, let me just show you how you insert a cell at the top and cell below. So you can insert a cell. When you hover here, you can insert cell above. You can insert cell below. That is the basics of Jupyter Notebook. You can delete a cell. You can move this cell down. You can move the cell down. You can move the cell up. You can be able to create a duplicate of a particular cell. Those are the basics of Jupyter Notebook. So when I want to create a cell above, I just click this and then I come here. So the type of age. So let me first of all call age, and I want to know the value of age is 56. Nice. Now I want to know the data type of age. What is the data type? So I use type function. Then I say age like that. I hit enter. So the data type of age is int. So suppose I have name. I think I had a name before, or name was not there. I think we used small name. Yes. And now I want to know the type of name. Should return a string. A string. So that's how we check the type of data, the data type. Sometimes when you'll be dealing with data, you'll be required data type of data to know which kind of operation you're supposed to perform on that particular column. That's why we are learning the basics. So we use type function to be able to perform that. So you can just, you'll get these notes later, but you can just note that you can use type to check a particular data type. So here we have some basics of the data, the sequencing data that we had. So to differentiate a list, a tuple, a dictionary, and a set. So this is a list. A list is defined using the square brackets. A tuple is defined using these curly brackets. A dictionary is defined using which brackets are these? which parentheses are these? How do we call these parentheses? If you can be able to see these parentheses, how do we call them?
Curly bracket.
They're called curly braces.
Yes, curly braces. And these ones?
Parentheses.
The parentheses, okay. Yeah. So that's how we defined a dictionary, but we separate its components with a full colon. We said it is a mapping type. So we can map name, we map it John. Age, we map it. Let me just copy this and paste it in the chat section so that we can all be having the same. Yeah. So this is a list, this is a tuple, this is a dictionary. We're going to see the differences in the next session in terms of what does this do and what does this do. So that later you can also do some further research about that. So you can change a data type. You can change a particular variable from one data type to another. So for example, in these few sections, I have shown how to change a float data type, a float data type. Let me zoom in a little bit so that you can see everything. Okay, so zoom out. Okay, so I have changed a particular data type here. This one, we know it is a float, but now I want to change it to be an integer and then call that new variable. I assign that variable to y. I am changing 23.5 to an integer and then assign it to y variable. And when I call y, it should be able to return an integer. Remember, it is a float with 23.5. So when I call this, it will be able to return 23. It will be able to return 23. It returns the value that is below. So let's do the same again. It will be able to return 23. It usually returns the value that is below. Let's try 23.1. It will still return 23. So it is returning an integer. And when we check which type is this, y, it will tell us it is an integer. We said we check type using the type of a data type using the type function. So we can call it, and then it is an int. So that's how we check a specific data type of a particular. We can change the data type using the int, and we have other ways of performing that, changing from int to string. Let's try to see if we can change this to a string. We said str is used to reference to a string. And yes, we have gotten our string. String are always in their quotes, single quote in this case. So it is a string. So we cannot carry out any mathematical operation on this string. So complex is also another type, but now we can let's try to type of Z. So this is complex already, but we can still assign it. We can change from another data type to that, to any type we want. Let's try to call one to be a complex without J, because J we know is a complex. When we add J to it, it will be a complex. So you see, we can assign even an integer to be a complex by using the complex function and assign that value to Z. So let's try to do this and change this to integer. So we are just trying to check that. So in this case, this is a complex number. How can 1J be converted to an integer? That's what we just want to know, that how can we be able to convert that complex number to an integer. So a complex number is not a real number. So it is not possible for us to convert. It is a combination or its number to an integer, but we can convert an integer to a complex number. That's what we have just observed here. So you can change this to complex, as we have just seen. And yet, complex not defined, small letters, complex in small letters. That's how we write defined words in Python. We use small letters throughout. Even print, when you type print using capital P, it will be something else, and it will not be the print we know. So you can still also change. This is a tuple. We said the tuple is defined using the parentheses, tuple. But now we can convert this tuple to a list. A list, we said it's the square brackets. We define a list using a square bracket. We can convert that and check the data type. So let's proceed. I think we have learned there something, unless there is a question there before we proceed to the next session. Because of time, we will not spend more time on that, so that we can know what is a list, what is a tuple, or what is a set, and what is a dictionary. Yes, Irene, are you following? You can unmute.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So built-in data types in Python used to store collection of data. So these are the ones we have said they store a sequence or a collection of data. These are collection of data. So we have just looked at a brief of them. But now, in the material that you'll be receiving, you will have this information. What is the difference between a list and the difference between a list and a tuple and a set and a dictionary. So a list is an ordered collection of items, which can be of any data type. A list can be of any data type. So lists are mutable. This means that you can be able to change, add, remove items after the list has been created. So lists are defined using square brackets, as we have seen that. And this is an example of a list. So let's try to run this list. Let me create a new cell here. Sorry, let me just use the shortcuts. Okay, shortcut is not. Can just zoom in a little bit and create a new cell at the top. And I want to run my lists. This assign this list. And now I can call my lists. So when I run, I'll be able to get the list. So list is defined by the square bracket. So that is a list. So we can be able to access the elements of this list using the index of each element. So we have a lot of methods in list, of which I have listed here a majority on the common methods that we can use to perform on a list. So in this material, when you receive, there is assignment on this, on how for you to be able to learn more about lists, on how you can append, that is to add an element at the end of a list, how you can be able to clear or remove all the elements, copy, can be able to count the number of elements, you can be able to extend, you can be able to reference on an index. That is returns the index of the first element in this specified value. Insert, pop. So when you receive this material, there is an assignment on that. You can be able to learn how to perform these operations. So a tuple also has its methods. So you will research also on the methods of operating a tuple. So let me tell you what a tuple does. So tuple is similar to list in that it is an ordered collection of items. However, a tuple are immutable. This means that once a tuple has been created, you cannot be able to change its values. So you see the difference between list and tuple. Lists, you can be able to change, create, delete, remove some elements of it, or all the elements. While tuple, you cannot be able to change its values once it is created. So that's what is the difference. That's the difference between a tuple and a list. And you can also be able to create a tuple. We said we use the parentheses to be able to define a tuple. So the difference is that it is immutable, while list is mutable. So research on the operations that you can use to access the tuple elements, the methods, like the ones we have learned. Maybe other ways you can be able to access the elements, methods of a tuple. So we go to set. So a set is an unordered collection of unique items. So this means that sets do not allow duplicate elements. So sets are mutable. So you can add, remove items from a set after it is creation. Sets are defined using curly brackets or using the set function. So this is how we define an example of a set. You can also be able to just run it and get what a set is. And you can also look for the operations methods that we have under set. Those are, I think it's also part of the assignment to do that. So we'll be able to see. You can be able to learn more about sets and the operations, especially the operations, how to access the elements of a set, how to access the elements of a dictionary, how to create a dictionary. So a dictionary is an unordered. Remember, set and dictionary are unordered, while the other ones, list and tuple, are ordered. So a dictionary is an unordered collection of key value pair. So each key must be unique, but the values can be duplicated. So dictionaries are mutable, allowing you to be able to access the elements or to change the elements, to add, to remove key values and stuff like that. So let's see how we create a dictionary. For example, you have a dictionary of maybe these are your local people, and maybe you have their name, you have their age, you have their location. So you can assign a name to a person, you can assign their age, you can assign the location of that person, where that person is coming from, and we can call this. Let's see how dictionary arrange its values. We can call this down here by running it. And you see, we now obtain our dictionary, which is a pair of values. So let's look at assignment 1. Let's look at assignment 1. So assignment 1, which is about the key elements that I have said, is learning how to create a list, how to access the list items. That is the first item in the list, the last item in a list, and any item within the list. And you can also how to change the list items. That is the first assignment. So you can also do the same for a tuple, and that's a tuple, a set, and a dictionary. And a dictionary. Yes. So you'll find this is just for your own research. You can be able to research more on how to do that. And in the next class, we will be checking if you have been able to learn something about that. I've just pasted it in the chat section. So you can learn about the methods that you can use to access the elements of lists and other methods. So let's go to variable reassignment. So variable reassignment, this means that we can change the values of a variable once we have assigned a value onto it. So this is, we have just here a simple mathematics, and I want us to know which value will be returned. I don't want someone to run this. Which value will be returned to this? So for example, when we assign x to 5, and then we assign x to 10, and then we say x is equal to x plus 1, then we say print x. Which value will be x? What is the value of x? What is the value of x? Let me just see my meeting. What is the value of x? Let me paste that in the chat section, but I don't want us to run. I want us to to just brainstorm. So don't run. Just brainstorm. Let me paste that code. Just brainstorm. What do you think that will be the value of x? Let me stop sharing first. What do you think that will be the value of x?
I think it's 11.
Hey, Brian, you let the students do the trial. Yeah, so 5, we have 5, 10, 11, error. What is the value of x? What is the value of x? What is the value of x? So can you see my poll? Can you
Yes,
see
yes,
my
we can.
poll? Yes, yeah. So what is the value of x? What is the value of x? So vote there, the value of x. George, are you together? You've been silent for a while.
No, you're together.
Yes, what is
Value
the
of
value
x
of x?
11.
Okay, Irene,
11.
oh, it's 11. Godfrey,
11.
Marilyn, if you're in
11.
the call. Okay.
11.
Thank you. Okay. So let me, that's okay. That's okay. So, yeah, so we have one person who voted, but the value is 11, as all of us have said. And let me end the poll. Hope poll has ended, right? We proceed. We proceed. Okay. So the value of x is 11. Variable scope. So variable scope, we have variables that can be, scope just means how we can access variable. How is variable accessible from? Where can the variable be accessed from? So you have two ways. We have global and we have local. Global variables can be accessed anywhere. Local variables can only be accessed within a particular function, not outside the function itself. So that is the difference between local variable and global variable. Global variable, just from the global, we can be able to access it from anywhere within the code. Local variables are only accessible within a specified function or a defined function. So I have here an example about a particular function in Python. So we define a function in Python. So Python, first of all, we start here by assigning a variable, which is 30. We assign x to 30. And then the global, which is a global variable. It can be accessed anywhere. And then we define a function. We use def, my function, to define a function in Python. So once we assign a function, this function is just my function and don't take any arguments. And I use the full colon to be able to show that this is a function. And when I hit enter, it will conduct indentation. Indentation is leaving a needed space from the beginning. It will conduct indentation by itself. So I assign y to 10, which is a local variable. This variable can only be accessed within this defined function. So here I can access x. When I print x here, I can access it. When I print y here, I can access it. Because x, I can access it inside the function because it's a global variable. Y is a local variable and it can only be accessed within the function. And when I call my function itself, and then I call x and I call y, x will be returned because it's a global variable, while y outside the function it will not be returned. It will return an error. So let's run, first of all, by commenting out this last code so that we don't get an error. So when I run, my function will print these values that have been defined to be printed when I call this function. I have called this function my function. Called it is by defining it here. This is how we call a function. When I don't call it here, it will not be able to come. Let me first of all comment it out. So this is how we define a function. So you see there's nothing that has been printed to our console. So I can call that function. I call the function by referring to it outside the scope of the function. So I call it, and now I have 30, which is for x, and then I have 10, which is for y. And then from there, I can call y, I can call x as well together with my function. And now I have 3 values. And again, now I try to call y, which is a local variable. It will return, it is calling the other y. So let me give it another value. It's calling the other y. You see, it is not calling this y, which is 10. It's calling another y that we had defined earlier in our program. So let me give this something else that we have not used. Let me say it's d, and then I can say this is d now, print d, and now this is d, something we have not used. So when I run this code, it will return an error at the last. You see, Python runs codes from the top to bottom. So it will print when it reaches to this, it returns an error, which says that d is not defined. In this case, it will be d is not defined. So when we go down there, it is now telling us d is not defined. Okay. Up to there, we have homework on the introduction to Python programming. And let me share the homework. Homework is already in the notes as well, but let me just paste it in the chat section. Let me stop presenting first of all and paste this in the chat section. So this is the homework, not assign, this homework. Go and read on Python functions. We have looked at one function that does not take parameters. Research on Python control statements. This is if, else, switch, nested if, and if. So these are just control statements. We will not use them frequently in the data analysis, but it's good to know them because sometimes we may want to give conditions about our data. So control statements are they help us to give conditions about a particular scenario. Switch also has another friend known as case. Continue, break, you can be able to break your code, you can be able to continue. So you can really research more on this so that you build your introduction to Python in depth. And then Python loops, you can be able to learn about for loop and while loop. These are repeatedly printing particular iterations for a number of specified times or until a condition is met or until a condition is not met. Yes, depending on your circumstance. So kindly research on these 3 things. These are homework, and create some summary notes about these concepts. And once you create summary notes, we'll be able to revise together before the session for the next class. Okay. Is there any question up to there before we go to data itself? That one was introduction to Python. That was introduction to Python. Okay. So we can now proceed. Let me share my screen again. And we go back to, let me just wait it to load, and then we go to continuation about data. Okay. So we are now starting Python for data. That was an introduction to Python, and now here we are starting Python for data. So in this module, you will learn how to understand data and learn about how to use the libraries in Python to help you import data from multiple sources. You will then learn how to perform some basic tasks to start exploring and analyzing the imported data set. So Anaconda comes with Pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, and all those other libraries for Python already installed. But if you had not installed these libraries, maybe you're using other environments, you will have to run the pip install, then you call a particular package that you want. Pip install Pandas, pip install NumPy. To be able to install, you run that to be able to install. But for us, we are set. That's why we have Anaconda, which comes with already built-in. So Pandas is used to perform data. Is an open source data manipulation and analysis library for Python. So it provides data structures and the functions needed to manipulate structured data seamlessly. And Pandas is particularly well suited for working with tabular data like CSV files or SQL. Sorry, let me just scroll. Let me just run one by one. Yeah, okay. Or SQL database. So the two primary data structures in Python are series and a data frame. So a series is a one-dimensional. These notes, you'll get them, so you don't have to worry about noting them down. You'll have them. I think right now is already now available in the learning management system. I'll just find out. Okay, then data frame is two-dimensional labeled data structure with columns of potentially different data types. So that's the difference between series and the data frame. So why do we use Pandas? Pandas is widely used for various reasons. It is easy to use. It is friendly. It is it's powerful in handling data. Powerful in handling data, helped in data cleaning. It helps in the transformation of data. The integration also in terms of file input and file output, that is helping us to read or to write a file. The integration with other libraries like NumPy, Matplotlib, and skitlearn for data analysis and machine learning. The performance optimized, that is Pandas, is built on top of NumPy, which allows for efficient numerical operations. So these stories, you will get them in the notes. So if you don't have Pandas, you have to run the pip install Pandas for you to be able to access it. But if you're using Anaconda, like in this case, we are using Anaconda, you have it already. So up to there, today we are going to use NumPy, then Pandas as alone. So NumPy, you can discuss it another day. So how to define a series? Meant by a series is a one-dimensional data. For example, in this case, we can define age is equal to this, and then now we call series from the Panda. So let me just repeat here. Because when I run this code without calling Pandas, without running the top code, it will not be able to run. Because I think I ran that. Yeah, these two stuff. I have to run them for me to import NumPy and Pandas. So I'm importing Pandas as PD. This is what we call alias. Like import Pandas as PD. So that instead of you writing Pandas in full, when you want to call it, you just write PD. Import NumPy. You could have just said import NumPy, but now we want to save time writing NumPy every time. When you want to call NumPy, you write NumPy every time NumPy. So we use alias to reference that. So in this case, is NP for NumPy. So once I have run this, I can now be able to proceed and be able to check this. So this is a series. So we call any method or object in Pandas or any other package by using dots. We reference to it and then edge. So for example, let's try to print edge without print edge. So just call edge. We said we can call edge. Let's give comments to this because we don't want them to be printed like that. So when you print edge, this is edge. You see how edge looks like. So in other words, edge is like a list in this case. And now we want to make it a series. How do we make it a series? We make it a series and give it to another variable. We learned about reassigning variables. So we are giving it to be a series and we assign it another variable known as edge var. So that when we print edge var, it should be able to return a series like that instead of a list. Let me paste that code in the chat section. Sorry. In the chat section here. Yeah. So you create a list, for example, and then now you make it a series. For example, you have seen that it is a one-dimensional. It is a one-dimensional data. Now it can be referenced using it is index. Index at this 0, 1, 2 can be able to access the elements of the series. So for example, here we can be able to access the first element using 0 because that's the index. We can be able to access the second element using 1, the third element using 2, and so on and so on. So when I run this, it will be able to return the first and the second elements, which is 4 and 8. So that's how we return the values of a series. So let me copy this and paste also in the chat section, though you have it in the material. So up to there, is there any question before we go to now importing data? This is just some basics of how you can create your own raw data in Python. And we are now going to import data. So there is a data file. Let me check the data set. Let me check the data set down there. I think data dashboard. Which one is this? Cost profit. It should be this one. So I want you to download this dataset, but I think you have it already. Yes. If you attended the first class for Excel, it's the same dataset. But let me share it. The Excel class. So when you click on it, it is an Excel file. It will be able to download. It will be able to download direct once you click on it. Message recorded. Okay, there you go. So you can be able to click on it and download the data set. So we want to import that data. So I want someone to share a screen. So first of all, let me explain from my side, and then I want someone to share their screen to be able to show us on how they can be able to do that from their end. So for my case, my data, this data is located in the downloads. So I'll just go to the dataset itself and then copy the path. So let me just do a demo here. So for example, this software development is a lot. So for example, I have this data, financial sample data. So I want to copy the path for this data. So you go where the data is located, you right click on the data, and then you click copy path. So that's what I did for me to get this. Let me just do that again. Sorry. Yeah, let me just do that again. I think I can just go. It is far away, but I will show you when one of you will be able to do that. So when you copy that path, because it's not the same data set that I want to use, but let me just show a demo. So you right click on the data, you copy the path. It's not the data set that we are going to use for my case here, but after copying the path, now this data is an Excel file. So you say df equal to, so you can give another name to this data. You can just say data is equal to, then you call the pandas library. We call an object in pandas, which we call read underscore Excel, to be able to read an Excel file. So read underscore Excel to be able to read an Excel file. We open the parentheses, and then we paste our code, and then we close the parentheses. So when you paste your code, you'll be able to see that your slashes, you have backslashes. So you have to change these backslashes to be forward slashes. Change backslashes to forward slashes everywhere. And then you will have loaded that data as data, or df for my case. So once you have done that, if you don't change, if you don't change the slashes, you will get an error while running your data. So I can be able to run my code, and it's successful because I had already changed the backslashes to forward slashes. And I can preview the first 5 elements of my data using .head function or method in Python. So I want one of us to show us how to load that data to their machine. So I'll stop sharing. I'll stop sharing. So George, George, you can share your screen and show us how you load this data. We are going to guide you. So you can just share your screen and
Just a minute.
okay.
Trying to locate the Excel data.
Okay, yeah. So you have it in the download. You clicked on the link, you downloaded it. So okay.
Let me just download it.
Yeah, just click on the link, it will be able to download. Or you copy the link, paste in the browser, you'll be able to download still.
So let me share the screen.
Okay, okay.
Can see my screen?
I think some seconds I'll be able to see.
Yes, you can see your screen.
Can see it.
Okay. Yeah. There we go.
Is read underscore or dot Excel?
Read underscore. Yes. Yeah. So you can be able, yeah. Sorry, you don't copy like that. You right click, please right click before you. Oh, okay. You're going the hard way. Okay.
I don't have the copy pad.
Oh, you don't have the copy part on your machine. Okay. Yeah, you can also do that. Okay.
I don't have the copy.
Okay, you can do that. But still, I think in the properties, you should be able to see it. in the properties, right click, go to properties. Let's see. Under properties, you don't see the path. The path, oh, that's the whole location.
Yeah.
And the one is, okay, no problem. Okay. Yeah. So you have it there, you change the parentheses. You had already changed? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you can now run by shift.
Do I have to
Enter.
put the file extension?
No, yeah, you have to put the file extension of the .xls because that is what refers to it as an Excel. XLSX.
LSX.
Yeah, XLSX, yes. And then you
Yes.
run it. What is it telling you?
Read underscore Excel is not defined.
Okay, read underscore. Do you have pandas? You have not defined pandas. And then pd dot read. You have not defined pd dot read Excel underscore pd. Yeah, you have to reference to pandas, and then you run again.
PD is not defined.
Yeah, you have not. Yeah, that's how we locate bugs. So now you can import pandas as pd. Import pandas as pd. Yeah, now run.
That's okay.
Yeah, so that's how we do that. And now you can view the top 5 values of your data or observations by go to the next cell. Just go to the next cell.
Yes.
Next cell below that. The next cell. Yeah, the new cell, yes. df, you refer it to the data as df.head method. You close it, yeah, like that. So you'll be able to preview your first 5 observations. So that is the first observations, 5 observations of our data. And you can change, if you want to see 2, you can just specify value 2 inside the head method. Change it to 5, to change to 10, change to 3, to 2, you can be able to see the number of you want to see. So again, also there we can use tail to see the bottom 5, df.tail. So it will only be able to, you can put that tail in another, please put in another, I advise you put in another cell. That's why you have cells in the notebook for us to use them. Yeah, you can be able to view the bottom 5 tails. You can also specify if you want just the last value of it, you can also specify that. You can specify inside the tail, maybe 1. df.tail, you put into bracket 1 or 2 or 3, it will only show you the bottom 2, the bottom 3, the bottom. So that's how we preview our data in Python. And from there, after having viewed that, is everything okay from your side, George, and sorry, Godfrey and Irene? You can stop sharing.
Yes, I'm following.
Okay, you can stop sharing now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Irene, also. Thank you so much, George, for sharing your screen. So let's proceed now to some operations on the data that we have loaded. Unless there is a question. So when you have a CSV file, you just say read underscore CSV. Read. Don't forget importing pandas. So import pandas, and now you refer to it as an alias PD. So that every time you want to reference pandas, you just call PD dot what you want to reference to. So let me share my screen again. And this time around, we're going to learn about how to do data manipulation. Just have accessing our data in Python without using the spreadsheets, because while using spreadsheets, you can be able to just see data every time you want. So, but in programming, We just access what we want to access. So we start by looking at selecting our data selection and filtering. So looking at our columns and rows and cells. So the first case here, so we just viewed our data using the head. So we see our data contains column, contains, let's check some, sorry, let me insert here a cell, and we want to check the shape of our data. So we call our data is df, we use shape, df shape, to check the dimension of our data. So our data has 7 variables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are columns. And we have 525. 525. Are we having the same data, George?
Yes.
Are we having the same data? Have you tried to check your
You're
shape?
having the same. You're having the same results.
Okay, thank you. Fine. So you check the shape of your data using the shape method in Python. So we have seen the shape of our data. So we can check, before we do other thing, we can check the data types of our data in Python. So we say df dot d types. df dot d types. We check all the variables and their different data types. So country is an object, product is an object. This means these are strings. Unit sold is an integer. Revenue is an integer. Cost is a float, which contains decimal points. Profit is a float. Date is a date time data. So that's how we check the data types of our data. Next part, we get, we want to access the first column. We want to access the first column of our data to assign it to its own variable. We learned about variables. So you see here I have defined a variable known as country underscore df. And then it's equal to, you can give it any other name, this variable. Equal to, we reference to the name of the variable. If it is data, we say data, and then use the parenthesis, the square brackets, to be able to reference to the column we want. You must be very accurate in terms of the spelling for your country. If it's capital C, if it is a small c, into the quotes. So that's how we access, we assign, we subset. In terms, it's just like subsetting our data. So when I run this data and call the new function that I have, a new variable that I have created here, I will be able to see a new data, which is country data, with some part of the top 5 and the bottom 5 of the country, name country. The length is there, the data type is an object. So this is how we subset, like accessing the assigning, like subsetting our data. This is very important sometimes when it comes to splitting your data. So it's good to understand how you do that. So let me just paste that in the section. Yeah, so that we can all have the same. So that's how you can do one variable. So suppose you have a lot of variables and you want to subset your data. What do you do? You can assign any other name to your as your variable name, and then you define your data. So you define your data by putting your double brackets, and now you can check the data type of your data. You separate all your variables using comma into quotes because they are strings, like this, the way I did for my case. Let me just paste that code to the chat section so that we can be able to maybe also have it. So that's subsetting data. The same way we did to the first case, we do it as well. So we have another subset of that. Though we have our original data, we are not replacing our original data. Our original data is still DF, but we are creating other data. Maybe you may want to just get some from a whole data. You don't want to deal with the whole data. You can just call some columns and assign it to another name as your data. And you can view some objects about some data types using the DF, the D types, as we have seen earlier. So another way, that is how we subset our data. After subsetting our data, we may want to access some specific sections of the data. That is where now we come to learn things like loc and iloc. So loc accesses a group of rows and columns by labels or Boolean arrays. So in this case, I just want to make it simple that loc, we reference to the data using the full name of the variable or of the column. We access the column by calling it its full name. So this is the column side. When you use the loc, you have to call the data, which is the df dot loc. Loc, you call this loc under the parentheses. So the first part of the loc is the rows. How many rows? Which range of the rows do you want to view? And the second part is the which column. Which column do you want to view? So in this case, we are viewing the first column and the two rows, from the row 2 to row 4. So I can just run this from row 2 to row 4 of the first column. So we use the df.loc. So we have iloc and loc. So we can access some sections. We can access some area. We can even specify more than just this and assign this data again to another variable. You can assign the data that you have selected to another variable. Maybe country loc. Maybe country, and I say underscore loc as my data, my new variable. I say equal to. So when I say equal to here, I am assigning the subsetted data to a new variable. And I can specify my data ranges from a lot. My data ranges a lot. Let me just specify from maybe 3 to 300. So I'm subsetting my data from the third row to the 300th. So when I call this data country underscore loc, I now have my data from the way I have specified. The last data will be the 300th data. So this is how we do that in Python. So that's how we use loc. So the difference between loc and iloc is that iloc, we have the capability of calling data by index, the column index. Calling the column data using the column index and not the name. That is the difference. So sometimes this is not readable. When someone sees this code having a lot of these indexes, is not readable, but it is the easiest way to avoid things like human error, typing errors. But loc uses the double quotes, which is a string, which refers to the column name. So that's the difference between loc and iloc. So you can be able to play around with your data the way you want. Let me paste to you the iloc code so that you can also try that. This is the iloc code. And let me paste to you also the loc code. Loc we reference using the name of the, and we can assign it to another data. So that it can be easier even for us to work with the different data at the same time. Or we just need a particular section of the data, not all the data. You can just subset your data. So you will be able also to check at and iat. So at accesses a single value for a row or a column, label pair. iat accesses a single, also just the same, but with an integer position. 1, 2, 3, like the index, just like the iloc and loc. In this case, we are accessing a single value and not the range of values. So you can be able also to learn, experiment that with your machine. I'm also pasting that code, but that code, it's already in the management system. You can be able to learn that. So we just want to see some basics of data cleaning, because the assignment also touches on this. So we have to, and this will be the end of our session today. So data cleaning, you can load your data. This is financial data. This is another data set, but what is different here is we are using, let me just explain the concepts here, but you will get everything. I will not ask you to load this data again. Yeah. Okay. So this is the data that I just want to use to test. So this is the data about financial data, segment, country, product, and so on. So we have some methods that we use to perform data cleaning. So it's null and not null. So it's null, this method returns a data frame or a series of the same shape, where each entry is true if the original entry is NaN, that is null, and false otherwise. So it's null checks if the data is null, and it will return true. So let's just test that. Let me cut this. So this one checks the entire data and everything in the data where there is true. Sorry, this is DF. I think I loaded this as FD. So let me call it FD. Let me call this FD because this one is checking the other previous data. So DF, this is FD. The new data is FD. So I can just check that, and you see discount band is true because it is null, 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 null. All the others that are not null are false. So you can check here. NaN, this is null. You can check when data is missing. So it's not null. It's not null. Let me just paste at the top. So it's the opposite of the other one. Not null. So let me change. Oh, this is null. So not null. So FD dot not null. So this one is the opposite of the other one. It will return not null, true, 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 because they are not null, but false for where there is null values. So it's just the opposite of the other one. And then we have any and all with is null. We can combine. So in Python, when writing Python programs, you may not be able just to work with one thing like this, one method like this. You may see other scenarios require you to combine different methods to check if their data is correct. So any all with is null. So you can use any to check if any value are missing in the data frame. You can use all to check if all values are missing. If any value, if all value are missing. So check if any values are missing in the entire data frame. So here we are combining multiple any to check if any value are missing in the entire data frame. So this is referencing to the data that we had loaded previously. So I'll just reference to it because I don't want us to keep changing everything. But you can just use any data. The concept is the same. You change the data type. The data that you loaded, the data name here is what you change, and everything other thing is just the same. So you can be able to run that first. So let me just highlight, comment out this and comment out this, and I can be able to run this. So false. So we are checking in this other data, DF has no missing value at all. The entire data has no missing value, but the DF data has missing value. Let's check. DF data has missing value. It is true because there are some missing values. That's why you can go specifically for each column, for each row to check which row is having missing and which column is having missing. In this case, this one will check for column. When you remove single, any, it will check for columns, for columns. Remove one, any, it will check for columns. In this case, you will have to specify axis is equal to 1 to check for each row. To check for each row. These nodes are also in the learning management system. So you can check. So because the DF data, the original data had no, the DF data was originally okay. It had no missing values. DF, let me just say this is DF. The original data had no missing values for DF data. The DF data had no missing values. So we expect each column to be clear and each row to be clear. But for the FD data, hello? Hello? Hello, is someone talking?
Your screen is out.
Yeah.
Your screen
Yeah,
is
I'm
out.
wrapping it up. My screen is out. I'm wrapping up because of time. So you will just check on the sum with is null. That is the sum. You can be able to sum the null values in your data to check if your data is having some null values. So with the sum, to sum all where there is null values. For example, in this case, print fd.isNull to sum all the null values and then sum. So that's what that does. And now to handle missing values, we have different scenarios where you can be able to replace the missing values, remove the missing values using the drop, and also filling the missing value with another value. So when you just read through the material that I have shared, it is straightforward. You can be able to run it, and because code is single wise, and that one will be pretty okay. Using replace, you can also go through and we can look at it before we go to the next session. So we can also group data. So we are going to learn about the pivot tables and group by in the next session, which will be about exploratory data exploration. So these ones we'll learn them in the next session. So there is an assignment in the learning management system that you should be able to try, that you should be able to try out. There is an assignment in the learning management system that you should be able to try out. Right now, it is presented in the learning management system. So immediately after this session, you should be able to try out the assignment. Everything has been posted. So don't do the assignment for the notes, but do the assignment that is in the learning management system.